judges and recommendations from peers, and you have to meet certain ethical criteria, and there's a lot to it. It's something that only, I believe, something like 6% of all attorneys in the state are board certified.
Wow.
And you can be board certified in different areas. There's a civil trial practice, there's appellate, adoption, different areas of practice, but it's an uncommon thing, so we try to,
I'm going to step out. I'm going to say something. Because if you look
I thought you were stepping out of the room.
I could do that too. If you look at all of our attorneys on Ask the Experts, they all specialize in one area only. Now think about this. If you're going to hire a family attorney, and it says on their business card they do bankruptcy, they do immigration, they have a list.
And I told you that my divorce attorney, who I used many years ago, handled personal injury, criminal, estate planning, and that's why I did so poorly with my divorce.
Yeah.
So you really, if you want to hire an attorney, you need one that is the expert that just primarily focuses on that area of law.
I personally believe so. I mean, family law is a lot of people take it for granted. They think it's like, oh, it's a divorce. It's just simple. It's form. No. It's complex trial work. It's very intricate. There are so many issues that come into play. Real property issues, taxation issues, bankruptcy issues, child-related issues. You have children with special needs and abuse issues, all kinds of domestic violence issues. There's so many things, and so you really need someone that practices in this area of law.
Absolutely, I agree. What counties do you cover?
Really, well, depending on where you want me to go, the entire state, but generally Palm Beach and Broward. I do have, at any given time, sometimes I have, a case. I have a case right now in Brevard. I had a case last year in Sarasota. So it depends. I'll go wherever they want me to go, but generally, for the most part, Palm Beach County, and really southern Palm Beach County, like Boca Raton, Delray Beach area is primarily where my cases are.
So tell people why they shouldn't try to do this themselves. Because I know that with my divorce, I did something even dumber. I got a good friend of mine to do it, and it just doesn't work out. It was worth a
shot, right?
Save a few bucks, do it.
There you go.
He's going to watch out for me.
Exactly. You get what you pay for.
And he's one of those, with the long cards with everything on it.
Yeah.
So, first of all, tell everybody why they shouldn't try to do it themselves.
It depends. If you have no assets, no children, very, very short-term marriage, maybe you can do it yourself. There are forms for that. They do have a packet of forms that they sell at the courthouses that are fill in the blank. But that's typically not the case. And so, I've seen a lot. There's so many, like we just said, there's so many intricacies and things to watch out for. And when we do even when you settle your case and you do a marital settlement agreement, that contract is outlining so many details and so many resolutions to different issues. Some of those issues may intertwine, and there's just a lot to watch out for. And really, the goal of any good attorney, whether it's family law or any other area of the law, when you prepare a contract, you're looking out for the future. So, what issues could potentially arise in the future? And therefore, what do I want to put in my contract today? And it's something that, as a non-lawyer, things that you just wouldn't think of, so with what comes with experience and the knowledge and the training and just having done this as a lawyer, you really need someone who can do all that.
How many, mostly women that I spoke to that said, I tried to cut corners and I got taken to the cleaners.
I'm raising my hand.
It was already too
And those are
late.
Mostly women? Because I hear that a lot from...
Okay, so maybe it's both.
I think it goes both ways.
For different reasons,
yes,
probably.
Exactly.
But
This is not where you want to cut corners at.
No.
So what's the process for filing for a divorce?
Sure. The process is typically the person who decides they want to want to get started, and it really doesn't matter who files first, generally. That person we refer to as the petitioner. That person would typically, through an attorney, file a petition for dissolution of marriage. We call it dissolution of marriage in Florida. And they will file it. Typically, some of the requirements as far as what forms go along with that are different depending on if you have children or you don't have children. They file that with the clerk of court and serve the other party via a process server, who's a person who just is permitted by law to serve lawsuits. Dissolution of marriage petition is a lawsuit. And so they serve the other party. The other party has 20 days from the date they're served to respond. Typically, that party is going to file not only their response, but also a counter petition so that both parties are seeking whatever, custody of the children, distribution of assets and debts. Both parties are seeking relief. And once the pleadings are answered, pleadings are served and answered, you would typically, there's a process by which the parties will exchange some financial disclosure. Bank statements, tax returns, credit cards. There's a financial affidavit form where you're supposed to lay out your expenses, your assets,
It's
your
like
debts,
a
your income.
whole journal of paperwork.
Yeah, and it can be more or less depending on the length of the marriage, the issues in the case,
Right.
How much of a history the attorneys may want to see, depending on if incomes vary, things like that. And then once disclosure is exchanged, the attorneys would agree on, let's say, let's use what mediator we want to use. Let's select a mediator and schedule a mediation so that the parties can make efforts to resolve the issues in their case.
So is that typically the case? They go through a mediator before going before the courts?
In Palm Beach County, there's a requirement that you really have to go to mediation before you can go to a judge for pretty much anything, unless it's like an emergency or something like that. But there's a very specific, narrow definition of what constitutes an emergency. So, and for good reason. You want to try to resolve these things. You want to try to make settlement efforts. That's what mediation is. It's a settlement conference. The mediator is a neutral person, typically and ideally an attorney. So, they can't give legal advice, even though they happen to be an attorney, but with the knowledge and the background in the area, they're there to help facilitate settlement. And,
And
it's
how about
a good
family
thing.
therapy? Do they make you, because I know with my particular divorce, that they made you seek counseling. You have to go
They
through
did?
Yes.
Really?
Well, they kind of knew, Renee, that, counseling me.
Yes, they did. They
Okay.
said it was mandated by the courts.
Okay. Was that in Florida?
Florida.
Okay. Interesting. Typically it's very rare that happens. If one of the parties is contesting that the marriage is broken, that's really one of the only requirements you have in Florida to get a divorce, is that the marriage is, quote, irretrievably broken. That's a legal phrase, and that generally means that the marriage is over. There's nothing the court can do to put it together. But if one party says, wait, it's not broken.
So if it's contested, because I thought Florida's non-contested state.
Florida's what we call a no-fault state. So what that means is that you don't have to prove grounds to actually get your divorce. The only grounds you have to allege are that the marriage is irretrievably broken. So, but one party has the opportunity to say, no, I disagree. There is something the court can do to put it back together, and that may be, to order
That
the
may be
parties
the
to
reason.
counseling. It's rare, though. I mean, I don't really see that happen. I mean, I may have seen that happen once in my entire
So
career.
Florida's a
Yeah.
no-fault state?
Yeah.
That's how Texas is. I was like kind of proud of that. Told my ex-wife it wasn't my fault. So
Right. So does it
And
matter who
ultimately,
files-
no one's going to ask you whose fault it is, right?
Does it matter who files first for the divorce?
Typically, no. There could be reasons why someone might want to file to initiate it. Such as, and I think we talked about this last time, one party is, say, for example, racking up a whole bunch of credit card debt. Well, when you're married, you can rack up credit card debt. It doesn't matter whose name the credit card is in, that debt is going to be considered marital and therefore subject to 50-50 responsibility. So if someone's going, wait a minute, this person's, going out and charging up the world, they want to file, because if you file,
Once you file, that's it?
It's like a cutoff date. So the date of filing, after that date, that the debt that's incurred in that party's name is only that party's
See, I
debt.
wish I would have known that.
hey, listen, I'm gonna let Tina catch her breath.
Okay.
Her passion.
still doing that a little
want,
bit.
I want her to. If I ever had a divorce, I want her to represent me.
Absolutely.
I'll
We're
be
going to go
there,
to
I'll be
break.
there.
When we come back, we have more family law talk with attorney Tina Lewert. We'll be right back.
Lewert Law Offices is proud to be the family law expert on the Ask the Expert show. Attorney Tina Lewert is a board-certified specialist in marital and family law. Attorney Lewert is committed to obtaining the best resolution for your divorce or other family law case by consistently providing skilled representation, expert legal advice, and personal attention. Attorney Lewert has developed an excellent reputation for providing effective divorce and family law representation in Boca Raton and the surrounding communities. Lewert Law Offices offers legal advice and representation in a wide range range of family law matters, including divorce, child custody, time sharing and visitation, child support, alimony, complex asset distribution, post-judgment modifications, and paternity actions. For expert representation in all aspects of divorce and family law, contact attorney Tina Lewert today at 561-544-6861 or visit www.lewertlaw.com.
And we're back here.
Yes, with attorney Tina Lewert, and we're talking about family law and divorce law. So can one attorney represent both parties?
No. That's contrary. That's a good question. It's a question I get asked a lot. Oh, we agree on everything. It's an uncontested divorce. And when we say uncontested, generally we mean that the parties have spoken about all the issues. They agree on how they want to resolve all the issues. Who's going to get what their time share is going to be with the children, who's going to pay what support and how much and all those things. So even in those cases, though, no, there's still two separate parties to the action. You still have to file a petition. There's still certain requirements that really makes the parties, there's still adverse parties to the case, to the lawsuit, and there's still adverse parties to a contract. So,
And you never know what could come up.
yeah, so one person's interests, are potentially adverse to the others, and so they both, a lawyer cannot represent both parties in a divorce, even if everything's agreed upon.
So typically, how long does it take to get divorced?
There is no typically. I wish there were, and that's one of the biggest questions I get asked when I first speak to people. They want to know how long, and also, of course, how much. And those are the two most impossible questions to answer, because I've had people that agree on everything. They quickly, everyone cooperates in signing everything quickly. It's very simple to negotiate, and they get divorced, and it's like a month. That's rare. I've had other people who drag and fight and scrape and claw and try to kill each other for years, and 3 years or more. I've seen that as well. So and even longer. So
Wow.
yeah, it can really vary. It depends on so many things. It depends on what the issues are. It depends on
Financial.
and
That's a big thing.
Well, also it depends on how far people want to take it, how much they want to dispute and maintain their positions in the dispute. Sometimes it depends on how much money they have to pay their lawyers.
Right.
Sometimes it depends on the attorneys in the case. You have, frankly, reasonable attorneys and attorneys that take less reasonable positions.
Yes. So let me ask you a question, because I've always wanted to know, is there a such thing as legal separation?
Not in Florida.
Right.
Not in Florida. So I don't
And
know
why
if there
is
are.
that? That's crazy.
I'm not 100% sure why that is. There may be in other states, and I apologize. I'm not aware of the history of it, but and people always ask me that. I'll say, "Are you separated?" And they'll say, "Well, we're not legally." And it's no. If once you are physically no longer residing in the same place, you're considered separated.
So, but you don't have to move out of your house. Like if two parties live together, you don't have to move out of your house. So what happens if one person moves out? Is that called abandonment? Are they abandoning the property?
No.
It's not.
No,
So they can
yeah.
come back at any time, even if you change the locks?
It depends. Generally, they can come back. You're actually not supposed to change the locks unless if you're the person who's in the residence, unless you have a court order. That could be a court order for what we call exclusive use of the home, or it could be like a restraining order. But yeah, you're not really supposed to change the locks unless you have a court order allowing you to do that. The other party can, it varies so much. I've seen people that have been separated for years before they even file for divorce. And then I've seen people who stay together, residing in the home, sometimes sleeping in the same bed during the whole proceeding and even after that. So it just varies by case by case. And
So it doesn't matter if somebody moves out; they're still.
they're not waiving their entitlement to the property if they had
That's the
entitlement to the
question,
property.
yeah.
No, they're not.
So it's time to play Stump the Lawyer.
I'm waiting.
Okay, so here's the scenario. It was me. I will say it was me. So I had 3 kids, and it said I would
You
pay.
did?
Oh, I didn't tell you about all
News
of
to
them.
me.
So the court said that I would pay child support till my last child turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the laws changed 5 years later. It changed to when the first one hits 18, it's 25% less. Second one turns 18, 20% less. So that's a lot less money. But how would I have known that? There was no way. How do people find out if the laws change? Because I ended up having to pay till the last child, even though the laws changed, because you would have to go in to amend it.
Right. You would, you could have.
But how would you know?
Right, if that wasn't in your final judgment, and now there's actually a requirement in the statute currently, in the child support statute that tells us we have to, even when we're doing agreements, we have to, and the court has to delineate that. So if you have 2 children or 3 children, you have to say when the oldest one emancipates,
right,
the child support will then be this amount. When the second one emancipates, then it's this amount. So, and it's not. It's not. It really varies. It's not like, if you have 2 children and one emancipates, it doesn't cut in half. It's just not the way the formula works.
No.
But
the laws change.
The laws do change,
over
and
a 5-year period. How does one find out?
That's a great question.
Yes,
go to my website.
Yes, you have to keep
That's
up.
it.
You have to keep contacting Tina to ask her.
Listen to the Ask the Expert show.
So
That's exactly
give everybody
it.
your phone number.
Okay, sure. The phone number is 561-544-6861 in Boca Raton.
Website address.
Website address is www.lewertlaw.com.
You know what I love about our show is, a lot of people, go Google somebody. Well, what does that tell you? Are you on the first page, second page?
Well, this eliminates that whole process.
Our show eliminates that. We have, and you know what? When you have the finest attorney, doesn't mean they have the highest prices. It means the most competent and passionate. We can feel your passion here.
Oh, shucks.
Because, you have a tough job because we talk to all kind of attorneys, and everybody says, I don't want to do family law.
Family law has to be one of the toughest areas of law.
I have dabbled in other areas earlier in my practice, and I believe it is. It's really rough. And I talk to attorneys all the time who will say, "Oh, I used to do family law. I don't know how you do it."
Right.
And it's
very
a lot.
emotional.
It's a lot.
You're dealing with people's emotions and
Kids
children and houses.
And we've seen, I've seen everything.
I'm sure you
everything.
have.
And just when I think I've seen everything, I see something new, some new fact scenario that I never could have imagined. And but when you have to have a little bit of a thick skin, and I've seen things. No, nothing shocks me, nothing offends me, nothing surprises me anymore.
I got to tell you, we got an email 2 weeks ago. Someone said they love that we're offering a family law show. They like Tina. I think it was her cousin or something.
Was it my mom?
No, but they want you to touch on prenup because down here, especially in the Boca
Very
area,
big in the Florida area.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I don't see enough people getting prenups, and I think people think that they should, and I think people think that it's only for people who have tons of money, or they're only for people who are coming into the marriage where one spouse has tons of money, or both spouses are coming in with substantial assets.
It's
really
a very
not.
delicate topic. Okay,
It
when
is.
you're getting married and you have to ask, either party to do a prenup. People have that assumption that you feel your marriage is not going to work.
Yeah. Well, and that's a question when I have someone who calls me about a prenup. We talk about the process, and then the next question they ask me is, okay, how do you think I should approach this with my fiance? Because
That's what I'm saying,
it's a really
yes.
rough thing. Well, and it is rough, and it's hard for people to understand sometimes that, as unromantic as this sounds, the idea of marriage, and marriage means what it means, for a relationship, for a commitment in your heart, and all these things, and that's why people get married, or because they want to start a family and start this together. But
Yes.
remember, marriage is a legal institution, and in Florida, we know, especially when you go through this divorce process, you learn that it's a financial institution. It's a legally binding financial contract. So, with that in mind, it does mean certain things. It does mean that you're bound and tied to this other person, and you want to provide for that. And it's really just a smart business decision to do that. Yes, it's like I said, a lot of people don't like to think about that idea, that concept when they're talking about getting married.
God forbid something
but it makes
happens.
it easier. There are no guarantees.
And does that hold up in court? Because I've heard so many situations that prenups don't hold up in court.
I hear that too, but I see them, I generally see them holding up. It's very difficult to set an agreement aside. It's very difficult. You generally would have to prove that you were under duress or you were coerced into it, like someone, had a gun to your head while you were signing it.
And I'm actually seeing footage of people now, they film it
Yep.
while you're doing
That's
it
exactly.
to show you're not under duress.
Absolutely. I prefer to do it that way. When we
Wait.
film, we
Why are you
videotape.
learning? How do you know about all this stuff?
Don't worry.
She knows a lot of stuff. Yeah,
much.
we videotape the signing and we ask questions on the record. Are you entering into this voluntarily? Sometimes we have people where, like one of the spouses is not, English is not their first language, so we'll make sure they have the opportunity to have it translated and ask all those things on the record, and we have everybody happy and smiling and signing voluntarily with, no guns to their head. And that's a good record of the execution of it. And so there are things that you can do if it's done the right way to help from, prevent from the contract being set aside.
Let's get your phone number again.
Sure.
They can call your office.
And your address.
Sure. The address is 5355 Town Center Road, Suite 203, in Boca Raton, Florida. It's the Wells Fargo building, which is about a block or so south of Glades, right near Town Center Mall. And the phone number is 561-544-6861.
Perfect.
Listen, the 30 minutes goes by so
It
fast.
does. There's so many things to discuss.
Yeah.
Because there's so many areas
There's
of family
so
law.
many. It's not never
And
ending.
you know what? Tina's going to be back with us next month. We're going to start opening up the phone lines next month. If you've got some questions, we're going to start opening up the phone line. Tina's going to be back with us next month. We will be letting you know the date and time. And we love when you come in the studio.
Thanks. I love being
divorce
here.
Yes.
means it's
Do you
kind of
offer free consultations as well?
It depends.
first 4 minutes.
Exactly. No, I do speak to people on the phone. Sometimes people come in and they want me to review documents and go a little more into detail. And so, I may charge for that time depending on how long it is. But yeah, I will speak to people on the phone and kind of let them get a feel and get a sense for me and all that fun stuff.
Perfect.
Listen, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks so much,
We're going to go to
Tina.
commercial, and on the other side, we have criminal attorney Michael Leader of Leader & Leader. So we're going from divorce to criminal law. We'll be right back.
Lewert Law Offices is proud to be the family law expert on the Ask the Expert show. Attorney Tina Lewert is a board-certified specialist in marital and family law. Attorney Lewert is committed to obtaining the best resolution for your divorce or other family law case by consistently providing skilled representation, expert legal advice, and personal attention. Attorney Lewert has developed an excellent reputation for providing effective divorce and family law representation in Boca Raton and the surrounding communities. Lewert Law Offices offers legal advice and representation in a wide range of family law matters, including divorce, child custody, time sharing and visitation, child support, alimony, complex asset distribution, post-judgment modifications, and paternity actions. For expert representation in all aspects of divorce and family law, contact Attorney Tina Lewert today at 561-544-6861 or visit www.lewertlaw.com. When you need an